Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm Libby and I'm back today with a sit down video where I'm going to be talking you through the vacation scheme / training contract application process, how I sort of went about applying for vacation schemes. So it's largely going to be focused on how I went about applying for all the different vacation schemes and the process that I followed to do that, and I think it will broadly also apply to sort of training contracts as well. So I'm going to be talking you through everything that I did, how I organised myself, how I went about the whole process, because it can seem sort of quite a large, daunting process. So hopefully this will be helpful, because I've had a lot of messages about this already. I know this is going up in August and applications don't usually open until around October, I believe, for vacation schemes. So I didn't start applying for vacation schemes until, I want to say, late October, which still allowed me plenty of time, but I know that a lot of people like to be more prepared than that and start a little bit earlier. It's definitely possible to start researching over summer if you would like to, and I'm by no means saying that this is the best way, the most organised way to do it, but I think it might be helpful to see the sort of steps that I followed. So obviously the first thing that you need to do is decide what type of firms you want to be applying for, and this is by a sort of broad research and thinking, how do you want to work, where do you want to be working, and all of that sort of thing. There are a lot of videos on YouTube already about how to choose the right sort of law firm for you, but this will include considering things like whether you want to be based in London or you want to be based somewhere else. So if you want to be working in a London firm, if you want to be working in a regional firm, if you want to be working in a Magic Circle firm, a mid to large sized firm, an American firm, and all of these firms will have slight differences in sort of ways of working. Firms will have differences in specialisms, there'll be differences in trainee intake, differences in work-life balance, all of that sort of stuff. So as a first stage, you need to consider, as a broad overview, how you want to be working and what sort of firms you want to be applying to. I could do a whole separate video on this as well, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in, because I remember thinking this was quite hard to know exactly how I'd want to be working when I hadn't really had much experience of it yet. Next thing I did was then write a list of the firms I wanted to apply for based on this sort of broad research that I'd done, slightly more specific research on the list of firms that I wanted to apply for as well. Put them in number order of the, like, one would obviously be one that I really wanted to apply for, and that would be the one that I would apply for first, all the way down to, I think I wrote a list of like 16, but I didn't expect to apply for all of them. I just thought I'd write out that many, and if I had time I could send out more applications, and I colour coded them in green. So the top ones were the green ones I really wanted to apply for, definitely wanted to get through all of the green ones, and then I did orange, which I would apply for if I had time, and purple would be that I would apply for them if I had time, but I wasn't really expecting to have time. And also, this isn't necessarily how everyone goes about it, so having spoken to a lot of people knew what they wanted and researched the firms, and they only picked a couple. And I know that a lot of people advise that you don't take too much of a scattergun approach by applying to loads of different firms. I know people that have only applied for 1 or 2 vacation schemes, training contracts, because they know that those are the ones that they're most interested in. So there's definitely differences in the way that you can go about choosing which firms you want to apply to as well, and like differences in number, and I don't think there's necessarily a right way to go about that. So I know people who have applied for 1, and I know people who have applied for like 15 plus, but that's something that you need to consider as well. And on my list as well, I also put the dates that the applications were due. So when I went onto this list, I could see at a glance when I needed to do the applications by, and once I had done the application, I would highlight it in yellow. If I got rejected, I would highlight it in red, and if I got a interview or an assessment centre, I would highlight it in green. I looked at all of the applications I did, and I think I applied for 10 in total, and I got 1 assessment centre and 1 interview off of the back of that. Applications usually close in about January, I believe. Some are a little bit earlier and some are sort of like late January from what I remember. So I had the goal of applying to 2 a week, because as I said, I wasn't really sure how many I was sort of supposed to apply for, and 2 a week was a heavy workload alongside my degree and everything else that I was doing. But again, this is very personal. Following having this list of firms that you want to apply for, once you're going to do an application, you then need to do really specific research on the firm. Again, there are videos on YouTube on how to specifically research different firms, and I could also do a video on this as well if that's something you'd be interested in. But looking on the firm website, sort of looking on Legal Cheek and things like that, and then also doing sort of deeper external research is really helpful for that, because each application needs to be really specifically tailored to each firm. You can't look like you've copied and pasted the answer from one firm to another, because a good application will be tailored very specifically to the firm and will show that you've taken time to research the firm and why you think you'd work well there and why you think it's a good fit for you and why you think you'd be a good fit for the firm. So I had a document for the research that I did for each firm, and I also had a document for the application. So there would either be questions or a cover letter usually that you had to answer for each firm, and I would answer these questions or create a cover letter for each application and make sure that they were really specifically tailored to each firm and sort of link my competencies, my interests and my way of working to the firm, and also say why I think I'd be a good fit for the firm and why I think they'd be a good fit for me. So some applications would also require a CV, usually if it was a cover letter application, so I also made sure that my CV was really up to date and formatted well and matched the requirements. So I think it was usually 2 sides of A4 that you could have for your CV. So I also made sure my CV was up to date at the same time as doing all of these applications. And as I said, I aimed to apply for 2 a week, which meant that this was quite demanding on my time alongside my degree and extracurriculars. So this meant that I really limited the amount of time that I could spend on them. So if I'd spent an hour and only spent another 25 minutes or an hour to complete an application, to make sure that I kept the process as efficient and quick as possible, because you really could spend a lot of time doing these applications. So I think it's really important that you make sure you sort of limit your time on the applications to make sure they're high quality, but that you also have time to do everything else that you need to be doing as well. And finally, while I was doing all of these applications, I was also practicing Watson Glaser tests, because if you made it to the next stage or as part of the application, you would often have to do a Watson Glaser test. So I made sure that I was getting my average score up for that before I had to do any Watson Glaser tests. And you can do free tests online if you literally just Google free Watson Glaser tests, and you can sort of work out the ways that you're supposed to approach the test, and obviously practice really helps with that. And another thing that I did, which was helpful at the interview stage, probably a little bit more than at the application stage, was I made a competency table, which was recommended by Law & Broader. I will try and find that video and link it down below, which I found really, really helpful. I've still got the competency table and I look at it before interviews and assessment centres, so I would recommend doing that as well. And regarding how I sort of kept it organised on my laptop, I just had a folder for law applications and a folder for each firm that I wanted to apply for, and just put the documents into each one of those. And if I got rejected, I'd put a little R next to it. If I got an assessment centre, I'd put a little AC next to it. And that was pretty much everything on how I went about applying for vacation schemes. I know at the beginning it can seem very daunting and like you don't really know where to start, so hopefully that's been a little bit helpful in clarifying how I went about the process. And if you want to see more content, I will be filming law school vlogs as I go into 3rd year at Exeter Uni, and I'm sure I also will be filming my journey through the SQE. But yeah, I really hope that's been helpful. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Good luck if you are going into the application process. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next video.